Did you know that Abraham Maslow never drew this pyramid? That triangle you've seen everywhere, psychology and education textbooks, wasn't his idea at all? So in this video, we'll look at what Maslow actually said about human needs, and why motivation is more complex than a simple hierarchy. Alright guys, welcome to Psych Explained. In this video, we're going to dive into Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We're going to talk about what he meant by needs, and we'll list them, the strengths and criticisms of this theory, and what this theory looks like today. Now before we start, what I want to focus on is what was Maslow thinking at the time? What was the events in the world that sparked this idea that we need a theory of motivation? And they're not small, they're huge events in the world. The first one being World War II. You see, Maslow, like everybody else, saw the atrocities and the horrible cruelty happening during this time period. Poverty, destruction, Holocaust, and genocide. And most people are thinking about what were the conditions that would lead somebody to fascism and authoritarianism and doing really bad things. But Maslow flipped it around because he came from the humanistic camp, right? That was his idea. That let's focus on the good in people. And so he flipped it to say, instead of what would cause people to do bad, what are the conditions that cause people to grow and be moral and be creative, right? That was event number one. The second event was in the field of psychology itself, which Maslow called the dark side, right? The sick side. In other words, psychology was so focused on pathology and illness and mental health, right? The dark side, or the sick side, as he said. That why not focus on the good thing about people, that people can be happy, people can grow. And so the spark of this idea of the needs were two big events. It was like the perfect storm of what are the conditions that cause the cruelty of mankind. Psychology only focuses on the bad things about people. Let's turn it. What are the good things, right? What are the conditions that can get in the way of becoming our best self? And this is the two big conditions or two big ideas that led to Maslow's ideas, right? Pretty cool. All right, so what did he mean by needs, okay? Well, we can actually divide these into two parts. And instead of needs, we want to think conditions, like environments that would spark or push you to do something, okay? Now, the lower needs here is what Maslow called deficiency needs, or the D needs, okay? D means deficiency. And this means that you're void of something. You don't have something, right? And so you got to fill that void, which is going to create this internal state of tension that's going to motivate you to do something. So let's go over what these deficiency needs are that's going to propel somebody to grow and reach their full potential. All right, we'll color code this. Now, let's start with the bottom need. This is called the lower need, okay? This is what Maslow called the physiological needs. Okay, what is called? Physiological needs. These are needs that are all about survival, okay? What do we need to survive? We need food, right? We need water, right? We need air, right? All these things about survival. Now, here's something important to note. Why are these on the bottom? What Maslow would argue, and this is in his writings, is that we prioritize these needs more. In other words, if I'm deficient, right, I don't have food or water, that's going to prioritize my mind more. I'm going to pay attention to this more than other needs. That doesn't mean, though, that I can't think about other needs at the same time, or I have to fully satisfy this need before I go up. Right? That's a big misconception of his theory, that we have to go one by one by one. We can do multiple simultaneously. It's very fluid, according to Maslow. Okay, this is on survival. The next need is what Maslow called safety needs. And this is about security. Okay, so physiological versus survival, safety is about security. Now, not just security of shelter, right? You can think about during World War II, how many homes were destroyed, right? That'll kind of spark his idea. But it's security in terms of a lot of things, like financial security, right? Do I have a 401k? Do I have money to feed my family, right? Or it could even be health, right? Do I have health insurance? Okay, so do I feel secure? Do I feel protected? This is a deficiency that we want to fill that void. All right, the next need, or condition, as Maslow would call it, is what we're going to call love and belonging. Okay, what is it called? Love and belonging. Now, if physiological is about survival, safety is about security, love and belonging is about human connection. That this idea that we need friends and family and that kind of things is not something we are desired to push. It's a void that we need to fill. And so this is about, are we making connections, right? Friends. right? Are we talking to family, right? Do we have family to lean on? Or even relationships like intimacy, wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, right? All that stuff. So this is about the connection between us. If we don't have that, we feel lonely. So there's kind of a tension that arises when these needs are not met, okay? We also, our last deficiency need, it's what's going to be called esteem, okay? Esteem needs. And this usually occurs, and we'll talk about this, around adolescence. We need respect, right? This is about competency, okay? In other words, do we feel valued, okay? Do we feel respected? Okay, respected. Do I feel recognized for my accomplishments, right? Is my boss saying great job, right? Is a parent saying great job, good job, right? You're doing really good right now, right? Do I feel respected for what I do, okay? So all of these are what we call deficiency needs. Now I'm putting a little arrow because this is important. Remember, this is fluid. You don't have to satisfy one in order to move on. It's not a video game, okay? You can constantly go back and forth. As Maslow said, he just listed it in his paper in 1943. You can satisfy a partial need but focus on another need. There really is no order. The point is that we're going to prioritize these more, especially pay attention to them if they are void. All right, so if these are deficiency needs, what is the top need called? The top need is what Maslow called the being need, okay, being or growth need. In other words, instead of being void or deficient of something, this is driving us, propelling us, motivating us to reach our full potential. Do we know what the top of the pyramid is called? Or he didn't come with the pyramid, but the top of the pyramid. We're going to call this, as he called it, self what? Self-actualization. Okay, self-actualization. Self is you, and to be actualized is becoming your full self. Okay? Are you finding meaning in this world? Okay? Are you finding purpose? Okay? Are you becoming the best person you can be? As Maslow said, what a man can be, he must be. Right? In other words, as a teacher, I might not make a lot of money, but intrinsically, I'm happy, I'm joyful. I have found purpose in this world, right? I have a light bulb because sometimes we have that aha moment, right? This is the top of our pyramid. Now, Maslow in his paper just made a list, right? The pyramid came out much later to simplify it. But by simplifying it, you take away the idea that this is all fluid. It's not a simple layer. All right, later on, and this is important, Maslow made revisions to his theory. What did he do? He added a couple more layers. Let's go over those. One, he added cognitive need. Okay, cognitive need. And this was during the 50s and 60s. And the cognitive need was our desire for knowledge. Right? In fact, many of you might be watching this video, not for school, but because you're interested. We're desire to learn, to explore, to research. Another need he would eventually add would be aesthetic. Aesthetic. That as humans, we have this need, this motivation to what? To see beauty, right? See a sunset, to listen to music, to see art, right? And then lastly, at the top of the pyramid, right? I'm going to put pyramid in quotations, is what he called self-transcendence, okay? Transcendence. And this is the idea that as we grow and we become adults and more healthy, is that we become selfless, altruistic. That it's about helping others, okay? Being selfless, being spiritual, right? Social justice, doing things for other people, okay? Now, I know this pyramid makes it easy, but it's not really a good representation of what Maslow really said about how fluid these levels are or needs are, how they can flow together, is more holistic. And so what would a modern day version look like of Maslow's needs? So let's actually color code, okay? On our x-axis, we have age, so maybe you're born, toddler, adolescent, old age. And on the y-axis, we have the intensity of that need, how much you actually need that need. So if we think about a baby, right, they are all thinking about survival, right? How much food do I have? Do I have water? Is my mom giving me milk, right? It's all about survival and physiological, right? And as we get older, maybe we are 1 year old, is my mom there to support me? Is she there to help me? Do I trust her, right? Something like that, okay? Something like that. Okay? So we need safety and things like that. All right, then what happens? Love and belonging. Eventually, we're going to think, I need friends, right? My kids, I need friends, I need family, right? I love those personal connections. And so later on, we're going to start developing, right, that need for love and belonging. And then as teenagers, it's all about recognition, right? I want people to say I'm good, I want a trophy, I want an award. And so later on, it's all about that, right? Esteem, recognition, do I feel valued? And then finally, self-actualization. Later in life, I've got all my needs met or somewhat fulfilled, and I'm thinking, have I made purpose, right? Do I have purpose? Do I feel meaning, right? Have I found the job of my dreams, right? This would be a more modern day perspective. Notice how they flow and they overlap much, much better. All right, let's finish up here. What are the strengths and weaknesses of this theory? Well, the first strength, and I think this is important, is that it gives a really good model of motivation, right? A really good theory of what drives us. Because remember, as we talked about up before, psychology was really focused on the dark side or the sick side. Mental illness, pathology, trauma. And so this is the idea of what drives people. So it's a really wonderful theory that started this idea. We also have a strength is that it's very practical, right? Practical applications. If you talk about education or business, and you think, how do I motivate my employees or my students to reach their full potential? You could think about their needs. Are they met? Are they kind of met? Are they deficient anywhere? So there's a lot of really good practical applications. Now, any issues? Of course. A lot of issues, actually. The most important one is that this theory kind of lacks evidence, empirical evidence. Okay, and this is a big one. Do we know how Maslow came up with this theory? He didn't do a randomized controlled trial. He read biographies of really famous people like Thomas Jefferson and Albert Einstein, Eleanor Roosevelt and Lincoln, and said, what do these people do that made them find their purpose, right? Very anecdotal. He even looked up his colleagues and studied his friends like Max Wertheimer and said, what do you do? Another criticism is that it's somewhat culturally biased, westernized, right? Cultural bias. These needs are all about the self, right? So if you're talking about the westernized world, Canada, America, well, yeah, these might make sense. I want to be recognized, I want fame, I want to find purpose. But if you're talking about a collectivist culture like South Korea or Japan, it's more about belonging, community. So these needs would look much, much more different if it wasn't a westernized bias. The last big criticism, and this from the kind of evolutionary world, is that it's kind of missing some really important needs, right? What about parenting, right? There are a lot of needs that are not there. Once you say that this is the #1 need or motivator of people, that we are driven to mate and have babies and offspring and to take care of them, right? And also, when you are parents, you're sacrificing so many of these, right? As a new parent, am I getting sleep? No. Is my health great? No. Do I see my friends all the time? No. And so we have this idea that we are missing needs, but it's also sacrificing some of the other needs as well. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe. Think about your own motivations. I'll see you next time.